Hey everyone, welcome to the MindMajix YouTube channel. Here, you will find insightful video tutorials to kickstart your tech career. Having said that, today we bring you the Selenium interview questions and answers to help you crack that next interview and land in your dream job. Beyond the basics, we want to set you up for the interview success. So, we take our list of questions seriously. We analyze real job descriptions from top sites like Indeed, Naukri, LinkedIn, and Glassdoor. But that's not all. We went a step further, surveyed and talked directly with experienced developers, top recruiters, and hiring managers. This insider knowledge means our questions and answers are laser focused on what you'll actually face in your interview. With thorough preparation and these top 50 questions backing you up, you're standing well beyond halfway through your quest to ace that interview. So grab your notepad and get ready to transform yourself into a Selenium interview rockstar. That said, if these are the type of videos you'd like to watch, then hit that like and subscribe buttons and the bell icon to get notified whenever we host. Now, without further delay, let's get started with the top 50 Selenium interview questions and answers.
So the first question on our list is, can you describe your experience with the Selenium WebDriver? So these type of questions are basically asked to the candidates with intermediate knowledge or experience or highly professional candidate, right? So you need to explain your day-to-day experience on a few WebDrivers, on other tools that you have been using in your day-to-day job, in your current or previous job. So the answer is, I've used Selenium WebDriver for about how many years that you have an experience in creating and maintaining automation frameworks for web applications. I've used automated end-to-end test cases integrated with TestNG and Jenkins for CI/CD and handled dynamic elements using various locators and weights. Now to the second question. How do you implement BDD using Cucumber in your test automation framework? Now the answer for this question is, so firstly the full form of BDD, behavior driven development. So I use Cucumber for BDD, that is behavior driven development, by writing inherent features, files and mapping them to Java step definitions. This approach facilitates clear communication with non-technical stakeholders, and I integrate it with JUnit or TestNG for execution. Now, moving into the third question, how to perform an automation feasibility study and derive ROI for automation project. Now, the answer for this question is as follows. I evaluate test case complexity, execution frequency, and application stability. ROI is derived by comparing manual efforts saved against automation setup and maintenance costs, justifying automation for repetitive high-value test cases. Now the fourth question in the list. How do you approach the automation of regression and functional test cases? The answer for this question is, I prioritize critical regression test cases, design modular and reusable scripts, and employ data-driven approaches. I use page object models for maintainability and ensure comprehensive coverage of key functional scenarios. Now the fifth question in the list. Have you identified any critical defect during testing? If yes, how did you handle it? Now the answer for this question is, I reproduced the defect, documented it thoroughly, and communicated with the development team. We collaborated to resolve the issue promptly, ensuring it didn't impact the production environment. This can be a sample answer, but in case if you have a specific answer which you can elaborate and dive deep, then I would recommend to go with that. And if you are a fresher, then you maybe use this answer and explain your projects or portfolio, right? This should be a good one. Now proceeding ahead, we have the sixth question that goes as, how do you define and prepare test data for your automation scripts? The answer for this question is, I use a mix of static and dynamically generated data, storing it in Excel files or databases. I ensure data consistency and compliance with regulations using tools to mask sensitive information. Now, the seventh question on the list. Can you provide an example of how you've collaborated with developers or stakeholders to ensure quality and timely bug resolution? Now, this is a question which has both technical importance as well as to find if you are a team player or not. So you can give a sample answer as follows, or you can have your own answer for this. So let's proceed with the sample answer. I regularly used Jira and participated in agile ceremonies. When a critical bug arose, I demonstrated it to the developer, leading to a quick diagnosis and resolution. Now, the eighth question in the list. How do you document UAT test scenarios, test cases, and test scripts? The answer for this question is I use Confluence and Jira to document test scenarios with clear steps and expected results. This ensures transparency and easy understanding for all stakeholders. Now, the ninth question in the list. What is your approach to delivering monthly and quarterly testing reports? And what key metrics do you include? The answer for this question is as follows. I use tools like Tableau for reporting key metrics such as test coverage, pass-fail rates, and defect density. I provide insights and highlight trends to support informed decision making. Now, the 10th question in the list. Explain your experience with API testing and database knowledge as part of your automation projects. Now, the answer for this question is as follows. I use REST Assured and Postman for API testing, validating responses, and status codes. I also write SQL queries for database testing, ensuring data consistency and correctness. Now, the 11th question in the list for today. Have you worked with any test design tools like Confirm IQ? If so, how did you benefit your test process? Now, this may not be only with the tool Confirm IQ, it might be a few other tools. Let's say the company is using a specific tool and it's not widely incorporated, right? So in such scenarios, the interviewer might want to know if you have a pretty good knowledge on that or not. In case if the knowledge is understandable, if you have a comfortable hands-on, then the chances are you can get onto the team. Now, let's say we'll go with the Confirm IQ. In case if you have a decent understanding or if you have not too much technical knowledge on the tool, then you can give a sample answer which can satisfy both the interviewer and any other interview panel you have on board. So the answer for this question is just mention any of the projects that you have worked on, but before that, make sure that you go through the job description, right? In the job description, they will definitely provide some skills required, right? You can just analyze if you have those skills or not. In case if you don't have technical skill on that particular tool, just try to build a story or something which falls in line with the requirement and can also justify your answer. For example, here you can say, I have used Confirm IQ for model-based testing, which helped in generating test cases automatically from the requirements model. This approach ensured comprehensive coverage and reduced the time spent on manual test case design. Now, let's proceed with the 12th question in the list for today. So the 12th question is, how do you handle reporting and logging in your automated tests? The answer for this question is as follows. I use tools like Extend Reports and Elio for generating detailed test reports, which include screenshots of failures and logs. I also implement logging using Log4j to track the execution flow and debug issues effectively. Now, the 13th question in the list for today is, what roles does Agile methodology play in your testing process? The answer for this question is, Agile methodology helps in continuous integration and delivery. I participate in sprint planning, daily stand-ups, and retrospectives to align testing activities with development. This approach ensures quick feedback and faster releases. Now, the 14th question in the list. How do you ensure the robustness and reliability in your automated tests? So the answer for this question is as follows. I ensure robustness by implementing error handling, using weights appropriately, and writing reusable functions. I also run tests across different browsers and environments to use mocked data to stimulate various scenarios. Now, the 15th question in the list. Describe a situation where you had to develop an automation framework from scratch. So the answer for this question is as follows. In one of the projects, I have developed a keyword-driven framework using Selenium and Java. I created a library for reusable keywords, set up a modular structure, and integrated it with Jenkins for continuous testing. This framework improved our testing efficiency by 40%. Try to quantify your answers to impress your interviewer. That's one good thing that you can do with your answers. Now, 16th question in the list. Can you explain your experience with version control systems like Git and Bitbucket? So the answer is, I have been using Git and Bitbucket for version control management branches, merging code and resolving conflicts. I follow best practices like committing frequently, writing meaningful commit messages, and conducting code reviews via the pull requests. Now the 17th question in the list. How do you manage test data in your automation scripts? So the answer for this question is, I manage test data using SQL for database-driven tests and use external files like Excel and CSV for data-driven testing. I also utilize data providers in TestNG to supply test data dynamically during the execution. Now, the 18th question in the list. What is your approach in maintaining and updating test automation frameworks? The answer for this question is, I regularly update the framework to accommodate new functionalities, refactor code for efficiency, and ensure it adheres to the latest best practices. I also ensure proper version control and documentation for ease of use by other team members. Now the 19th question in the list. How do you approach cross-browser testing in your automation projects? The answer for this question is, I use Selenium Grid to run tests across multiple browsers and platforms in parallel. I write browser-agnostic test scripts and leverage tools like BrowserStack or Source Labs for extensive cross-browser testing, ensuring our application works seamlessly on different environments. Now, the 20th question. Explain your experience with integrating automated tests into a CI/CD pipeline. So the answer for this question is as follows. I integrate automated tests into CI/CD pipelines using Jenkins. I configure Jenkins jobs to trigger test execution on every code commit, ensuring continuous testing. I also use plugins for reporting and notifications, facilitating quick feedback and maintaining code quality. Now, the 21st question. What is the difference between single and double slash in XPath? So the answer for this question is, single slash is used to create XPath with an absolute path, that is, the XPath would be created to start selection from the start node. So a sample XPath will look like this. Double slash is used to create XPath with relative path, that is, the XPath would have been created to start selection from anywhere within the document. So this sample double slash looks something like this mentioned below. Now let's proceed with the 22nd question. How do you click on a hyperlink in Selenium? The answer for this question is, driver.findelement by .link text today's deals .click. So let's say today's deals is the link that you're working on. That's how you do it. The command finds the element using link text and then clicks on the element, where after that, the user would be redirected to the corresponding page. Driver.findElements brackets by part link text service click function. The above command finds the element based on the substring of the link provided in the parenthesis, and thus partial link text function finds the web element. Now the 23rd question. How can we move to the nth child element using XPath? The answer for this question is, we can move to the nth child element using XPath by using the following expressions. Parent element. Now, 24th question in the list. Mention different ways of locating an element in Selenium. The answer for this question is, the various ways of locating an element in Selenium are by ID, by name, by class name, by tag name, by link text, by partial link text, by CSS selector, and by XPath. Now the 25th question in the list. Is it possible to test APIs or web services using Selenium WebDriver? So the answer for this question is no. We cannot test APIs or web services using Selenium WebDriver as it is designed to test web applications. Now the 26th question in the list. What will happen if I execute this command, driver.get? The answer is, this command will instruct the Selenium WebDriver to open the specified URL in the web browser. Now the 27th question in the list. Is Selenium 2.0 different from Selenium 3.0? If yes, how? The answer is, Selenium 3.0 represents an enhanced iteration of Selenium 2.0, introducing numerous enhancements and novel functionalities. A significant distinction lies in the inclusion of WebDriver API as an integral part of Selenium 3.0, eliminating the need for separate downloads and installs as required in the previous version. Now the 28th question in the list. What is XPath? So the answer for this question is, while DOM is the recognized standard way of navigating through a HTML element tree, XPath is the navigation tool used to locate a web element based on its XML path. XML stands for Extensible Markup Language and is used to store, organize, and transport arbitrary data. It stores data in a key value pair that is much similar to HTML tags, both being markup languages and falling under the same umbrella. XPath can be used to locate HTML elements. The fundamental concepts behind locating elements using XPath is traversing between various elements across the entire page and thus enabling a user to find an element with the reference from another element. 29th question in the list. How to execute JavaScript code in Selenium? The answer for this question is, JavaScript code can be executed in Selenium using JavaScript Executor. Sample code for JavaScript execution is as follows. Now, let's proceed with the 30th question. What is an object repository? So the answer for this question is, an object repository allows testers to accumulate web elements of the application under test, also known as AUT, along with their locator values in one or more centralized locations as restricted to hard coding them within the test scripts. Now the next question in the list is, what is the difference between type keys and type commands? The answer for this question is, type keys function will trigger JavaScript events, while type function won't. Type keys collect values and attributes using JavaScript, whereas the type commands imitate the actual user typing. Now, the 32nd question on the list. What are the significant changes or upgrades made to various Selenium versions? The answer for this question is, Selenium's first version included only 3 sets of tools: Selenium IDE, Selenium RC, and Selenium Grid. There was no WebDriver included in the first version. Later, Selenium WebDriver was introduced and hence the included version was called as Selenium V2. However, as WebDriver got included, the use of Selenium RC was discouraged with time and has not been in much use since then. Selenium 3 was in use. There are some newly added Selenium features such as the IDE and WebDriver. Selenium 4 is the latest released version so far. Now, 33rd question in the list. What is an exception test in Selenium? The answer for this question is as follows. An exception test is the test that looks forward to an exception being thrown inside a test class. It anticipates the @test annotation followed by the expected exception name. For example, test annotation inside the bracket, expected exception equals to no such element exception.class is an exception test for missing elements in Selenium. Now the 34th question. What is TestNG in Selenium? The answer for this question is, TestNG is a popular testing framework that is widely used in Selenium. It is used to manage and run test cases in a more efficient and organized manner. TestNG provides features like grouping, parallel testing, and reporting. Now, the 35th question in the list. What is POM or Page Object Model? The answer for this question is the Page Object Model is a design pattern used to create object repositories for the web UI elements. Every web page of an application has a corresponding page class that is responsible for locating the web elements and performing actions on them. Now the 36th question in the list, what are the different types of annotations used in Selenium? The answer for this question is, in Java, a special form of syntactic metadata can be added to the Java source code, which is known as annotations. Variables, parameters, packages, methods, and classes are annotated. Some of the JUnit annotations are test, before, after, ignore, before class, after class, run with. Now the 37th question in the list. What are the 4 elements that you have to pass in Selenium? The answer for this question is 4 parameters or elements that need to be passed to Selenium are host, port number, browser, and URL. Now the 38th question in the list. How will you use Selenium to upload a file? Now the answer for this question is, if the file is on the same machine or on a magnet web drive, it is really straightforward. We have to just type the path of the file in the file upload control. For example, as shown here, driver is equals to WebDriver.Firefox and the file location. Now followed by that, we have 39th question. What is the difference between get window handles function and get window handle function? The answer for this question is as follows. Get window handles function. It is used to retrieve the addresses of all currently open browsers. The method returns a set data type containing the addresses. And on the other hand, which is the get window handle function, it is used to obtain the current browser's address and its return type is a string data type. Now the 40th question in the list. What is Selenium Maven project? The answer for this question is, in a Selenium Maven project, developers use Maven as build tool and Selenium WebDriver to automate browser testing. Maven simplifies the process of managing dependencies and building Java projects, making it easier to configure Selenium WebDriver in the project. Maven empowers developers to establish a project structure encompassing source code, test code, and resource files while automating the build process. It simplifies project maintenance, distribution, and collaboration for Selenium. Now, 41st question. What is a web element in Selenium and how is it used? So the answer for this question is, a web element is an interface in Selenium used to represent a web element on a web page. It is used to interact with the element, such as by clicking a button or entering text into a field. Now, the 42nd question in the list. How do you handle alerts in Selenium? The answer for this question is, alerts are pop-up windows that are displayed on a page. You can handle alerts in Selenium using the alert interface. The alert interface provides methods like accept method, dismiss method, and get text methods to handle alerts. Now the 43rd question in the list. What is the difference between get text method and get attribute method in Selenium? The answer for this question is, get text returns the visible text of the web element, while get attribute returns the value of a specific attribute of the web element. Now 44th question. What are the 5 methods in Selenium? The answer is, there are 5 Selenium method categories in all: browse methods, web element methods, navigation methods, wait methods, switch methods. Now the 45th question. What is the difference between a page object model (POM) and a page factory? The answer is, page object is a class that represents a web page and holds the functionality and members. Page factory is a way to initialize the web elements you want to interact within the page object when you create an instance of it. Now the 46th question for the session. What is the page factory? The answer for this question is, we have seen the page object model is a way of representing an application in a test framework. For every page in the application, we create a page object to reference the page, whereas a page factory is one way of implementing the page object model. Now the 47th question in the list. What does the test timeout mean in TestNG? The answer for this question is, the maximum number of milliseconds a test case should take. Test thread pool size is equals to 3, invocation count is equals to 10, timeout is equals to 10,000 milliseconds. Call the test case model, public void test case 1. In this example, the function test case will be invoked 10 times for 3 different threads. Additionally, a timeout of 10,000 guarantees that none of the threads will block on this thread forever. Now, the 48th question in the list. What is the use of @test? Thread pool size is equals to x. Now, what is the use of this particular annotation? The answer for this question is as follows. The thread pool size attribute tells to form a thread pool to run the test method through multiple threads. Note, this attribute is ignored if invocation count is not specified. Patient thread pool size is equals to 3, invocation is equals to 10, public void test case 1. In this example, the method test case 1 will be invoked from 3 different threads. Now, the 49th question in the list, list out various ways in which TestNG can be invoked. The answer is, TestNG can be invoked in the following ways: using Eclipse IDE, using the ant build tool from the command line, and lastly, using IntelliJS IDE. Now, the last question in the list. What is the use of listener annotation in TestNG? The answer for this question is, TestNG listeners are used to configure reports and logging. One of the most widely used listeners in TestNG is iTestListener interface. It has methods like onTestStart, onTestSuccess, onTestFailure, onTestSkip, etc. We should implement this interface creating a listener class of our own. Next, we should add the listener's annotation, that is @listeners, in the class where it was created. And that brings us to the end of this session. Should you feel that we missed out on any of the important questions that you have in mind, please feel free to let us know in the comment section below. Or if you have any queries regarding any of the topics covered in this session, or if you require the resources like the questions listed or the PPT we used, then please feel free to let us know in the comment section below, and our team of experts will be happy to resolve all your queries at the earliest. Until next time, thank you for watching and stay tuned for more from MindMajix.